It bothers me when doctors continue transferring embryos back into the uterus on day 2 or day 3, and patients don't understand that they've received poor quality medical care. Because the right time to transfer an embryo back in the uterus is day 5, when it's called a blastocyst. And the reason for that is basically human biology. Remember that when we're doing an IVF cycle, we're just trying to replicate in the IVF laboratory what would normally happen in the bedroom. A lot of doctors cheat and lie to patients and they say, oh, the best place for an embryo is in the human body rather than in the IVF laboratory. Why do you want to put it in the artificial incubator or the artificial test tube in an IVF lab? Let's put it back inside the human body. And logically, that makes a lot of sense. But you know what? They're lying to patients. And you know why they're doing that? Because they're hiding the truth. Let me explain this to you. What you need to understand is that when ovulation occurs, and fertilization occurs, it occurs inside the fallopian tube, not inside the uterus. The embryo spends about 3 to 4 days inside the fallopian tube, traveling from here all the way to the uterus, which means by the time the embryo reaches the uterus, it's a day 5 embryo. And the reason it's been designed that way is that once it's a day 5 embryo, it's got a shell or a zona, and then the embryo is ready to hatch. That's called a hatching blastocyst. Only after it hatches, it can actually implant inside the uterus. And that's why putting a day 3 embryo back in the uterus is not a good idea at all. Because a day 3 embryo does not belong in the uterus. It's only a day 5 embryo which belongs in the uterus. That means a day 3 embryo either belongs in the fallopian tube or it belongs in the IVF laboratory, a good IVF laboratory, the test tube of a good incubator in a good IVF lab, because we mimic the in vivo conditions very well in an in vitro fertilization lab. After all, that's what the purpose of IVF is. This is why I must tell you again that do not allow your doctor to transfer day 3 embryos. Insist that they be day 5.